What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Sandbox channel for our first show where we will review all the news and everything around the Sandbox and the Metaverse events. I'm Laure, and joining me today is Brandon Smith, who you may know if you're a FIFA esports fan. How are you, Brandon?
I'm doing very well, Laura. It's a very different experience, this, for myself personally, but I'm looking forward to it. We've got a lot to talk about today, and if you're a fan of the Metaverse, stay tuned because we've got a lot to cover.
Exactly, and without further ado, let's hop into the summary of today's show.
Well, let's start the show off with some of the latest news around the Sandbox and the upcoming arrival of cult manga hero Captain Tsubasa.
NFT NYC took over New York at the end of last month, and PandaPops, our VoxEdit community manager, was here to meet all the community. She will be with us on set to talk about the event and the Sandbox announcements.
New York was also a great opportunity to meet several big music stars, and this week we have an exclusive interview with Steve Aoki to give you a deep dive into the creative process of his own experience in the Sandbox, and that's coming up later in today's show.
And finally, we will wrap up this show with all the things in Season 3 in the Sandbox, as well as the Metaverse Summit, which will take place later this week in Paris. And let's go for the Sandbox show.
Yeah.
Brandon, we have so much to cover today.
We do. We have a lot to cover today. There might be people that are here for the very first time. They're not probably know too much about the Metaverse or Web3. So we've got some great guests accompanying us today. First and foremost, the operations manager at the Sandbox. We have got Remy Pombar. Remy, thank you so much for joining us. You'll be talking to us today about the Sandbox. How are you? And welcome to what an incredible set we've got.
All good, all good. Everything fine. Thank you for having me today.
And on my left, we have PandaPops, who's the voice of the community. As you may know, she does a lot of tutorials on VoxEdit. How are you doing, PandaPops?
I'm doing great, thank you. So happy to be here in Paris as well.
Amazing to have you with us today. And as Brenda said earlier, Remy, can you summarize maybe what the Sandbox is about for people who don't know?
Yes, yes, definitely. For the one who don't know the Sandbox, sure. Sandbox is basically a virtual world as a metaverse where users will roam around with the 3D avatars. And with their 3D avatars, they can experience a lot of different concepts. So they can go into games, they can go into social hubs, attend concerts. So many different stuff to enjoy and get entertained.
And where we've seen such a launch, Remy, in the recent news with the Sandbox, we've seen some massive brands come over, some huge names, celebrities join the Sandbox and the Metaverse. How different is each experience in the world map of the Sandbox?
Okay, so basically, each land represents the identity of the brand, of the creator that actually created it, that built it. So each brand is unique, but also you can aggregate lands to create bigger experiences. So one land doesn't equal one experience. You can create even bigger worlds and identities thanks to aggregating lands.
And my next question may be an obvious one, but how do you play the game? What are the specifics around the Sandbox?
Okay, first, let's talk about this topic, because we usually think Metaverse or VR. Mm-hmm. You don't need goggles to play the Sandbox first. Then when you get into the game, according to the experience required, you will either have parkour experiences, fighting games, you can have sports game in the future. So our tool, our creation tool, allow people to create anything and make any experience available.
It's super diverse, but Panda, as the voice of the community, I want to say, what do you like the most about the Sandbox and its experience?
What I like most about it is, at least with VoxEdit, you can be super creative, basically let your imagination go wild, and the community as well. I really feel like the community is key within Sandbox. During alpha seasons, I run multiple giveaway contests that incorporate the community to come in, and we'll play games all together. And that's one thing I absolutely love about it.
Do anything.
Yeah, lots to learn about today. And in a moment, we're going to be talking a lot about the latest news in the Sandbox. The question for you, Jeremy, is to understand the position of the Sandbox, because is it just about video games, or is it about covering a lot of different sectors?
Okay, so our engine is from the gaming industry, that's for sure. Our Voxel identity is from the gaming industry. But with many different brands. We announced Gucci. We announced a lot of brands that don't come from the gaming space. So we are here to welcome culture as a whole and bring entertainment to life.
All right, now I think we covered all the basics around the sandbox, so let's dive into the news. And the first news we have today, Captain Tsubasa, as we said in the summary, is coming to the sandbox as the very first Japanese manga property in the game. That's a huge news. The experience will be co-produced by the leading mascot design and marketing agency, Minto. Brendan, I know you're a big football fan. How big was Captain Tsubasa when you were a kid?
Yeah, pretty big, but even more bigger, Law, when he released his own football game, which I thought was very interesting. Another great collaboration, Remy, coming to the sandbox. How excited are you about that one?
That's insane, man. I mean, I watched Captain Tsubasa for years on TV, and now having him inside the sandbox, it's huge. Especially as Seb, the sandbox co-founder, is currently in Japan to visit builders and get more of the Japanese culture. Yeah,
as you said, it's huge. But how important is it for this sandbox, especially to have this kind of culture in the metaverse?
Again, the sandbox is about culture, so we want everyone to be represented in the space, both Japanese brand, Korean, also European and American brands, that's for sure. So Captain Tsubasa is iconic, and so it makes sense to have them with us.
All right, well, staying in the topic of football, but more in real life player football, I want to say, because we're going to celebrate in the second news a project around one of the greatest players in history, Brendan.
Yeah, one of the best footballers of all time. I was excited to see this story announced as part of the news. It's a bit of a mouthful to go through, but we'll go through it from the top. A famous Italian street artist, Joe Rick, created an incredible 15 times 6 meters mural on Lafayette Street in New York City. This was following NFT New York, a project we'll be talking about a little bit later. This piece of art is available both in the real world and the metaverse as a single NFT edition, which allows the buyer ownership of real-life mural for 1 year, as well as perpetual digital rights. If you don't plan to get it, guess what? You can get it in the sandbox now, thanks to the guys at Iconia, a fantastic Kiev-based design agency. And it's safe to say, it's quite an impressive mural, isn't it, Laura?
Yeah, and I think it's a great example of what we can create in both worlds. But Brendan, I was kind of surprised to find this type of mural in NYC, given that the player was originally from Italy. So what was his impact in NYC?
Well, as we know, Andrea Pirlo was a legend in the footballing world, but he ended his career in New York City FC. He played 60 games for the club. He only scored a goal, but he did end his career there, his illustrious career in New York City, and that was their way of thanking him, I think.
On that topic, how did you decide to include Lafayette Street in the metaverse? What was the thought process behind it?
Again, so the whole Lafayette is key. Mm-hmm. We want to Pirlo is a huge guy in the whole industry. So we want him to be part of this New York culture.
You see the comparison between the real one and the one you can find in the metaverse. It's uncanny, really.
Yeah, it's huge.
Amazing stuff. Yeah, we're going to be talking a lot about New York today, aren't we? Because there's a lot of news to come around NFT New York Week, the first of its kind. And we're going to have a little interview as well coming up very shortly indeed from Time Magazine, their president, in the recent Times Square collaboration that's also coming to the sandbox.
Yeah, and let's wrap the news section with a new NFT collection in the Sandbox to celebrate Pride Month. The Sandbox is partnering with People in Crypto and Hermit Crab to release the Colors of Diversity NFT, which you can see right now on your screen. The collection compiles 26 NFTs around the Valley of the Belonging, available in the marketplace.
And I guess, Panda, I've got to ask you, as someone who's in the game pretty much daily, how excited are you about a collection like this? There's been loads of different NFT collections.
Oh, I've got a couple of them.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I've made a few. I absolutely love it. I think representation is key in any sort of, any industry within gaming as well, because then it really does allow people that fall into those categories to feel like they are actually part of it and feel like they're getting that representation.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a super important topic in general, but I'm just wondering, how important is it for the Web3 to have inclusivity and representation, Remy?
We've actually been elected we received a gold medal in diversity contest quite recently, because especially as people of crypto, representation is key for us. We also have a partnership with World of Women, which is a big NFT collection empowering women in the industry. So it's everywhere we can, we try to empower people.
Fantastic topic to focus on indeed, Remy. But let's talk about the latest news, in particular those announced during NFT NYC. And we have PandaPops with us to talk about this topic. So today we decided to go back to NFT NYC, one of the biggest physical events in Web3. 15,000 people here joined in NYC during one weekend, and you were part of it. So tell me about the experience. What could you do on site? Who did you meet? Tell me about it.
So there was sort of two parts to NFT NYC. There's the main part where all the booths and everything are, that ran from Tuesday until Thursday. I was part of that from Wednesday until Thursday, where we had some of our partners building games at the booth, showing off their games, what they've created, as well as some of us being there to network, talk to other people, explain a little bit more in depth as a staff member rather than just a partner developing. And then on the Monday and Tuesday, Sandbox had their very own event. We had panels during the afternoon on both days. And in a little separate room, we had numerous PCs set up in the same event area, where we could show people how to use Alpha, how to use Game Maker, how to create things in VoxEdit, meet a bunch of builders and just a lot of people from the community. Wow.
And I guess off the back of that, Panda, it's probably your first time meeting a lot of the community from the Sandbox game. Just give us an insight. What are the conversations you're having about the metaverse? If you can, try and explain those. And I guess, how did you leave New York coming back to the UK? What sort of experiences did you take?
I left New York with just so much admiration for what the builders and the community want to create. They gave me a ton of ideas as well. I can't really go into too much detail, especially for some that are building up their own games, but they've got some fantastic ideas. And it was really nice as well to meet people just starting in Sandbox. Someone even brought their own laptop in and came over to me and was like, can you help me with VoxEdit? And so I spent about half an hour sat there teaching them, like, this is what you need to do to try and give them the tools of creating what they want to create.
And I think NFT NYC was also the place to present new projects coming to the metaverse, and in particular, the one concerning the arrival of Time magazine in the Sandbox. And we had the chance to meet with its president, Keith Grossman, to talk about the project. Let's check it out.
We're going to turn it over to the community to help us design what the Sandbox experience will be. And what we know is this: the space will be called Times Square. Not Times Square, Times Square. I hope it puts a smile on your face. It puts a smile on my face every time I say it. What we know is that we want to make sure that we bring our values into the ecosystem that Sandbox has developed. And those values are, inclusivity and optimism, constructive feedback as we evolve, a give first mentality. What we know is that we want to make sure that we take all of our assets and we put what our owner, Mark Benioff, would say is all of our wood behind one arrow, right? So how do we take all of the people who own timepieces over here and give them a unique experience in the Sandbox? At the same time, how do we take all of our assets in the Web 2 world, the access to events, the access to content, the access to speakers, the access to writers, and bring them into sort of the Sandbox experience? And finally, how do we bring and elevate sort of the creative community, which has been something that we've been really focused on as we've been in the Web3 space.
Yeah, great interview there and some fantastic insight from President of the Time magazine, Keith Grossman. I guess the question off the back of that comes to you, Remy. Time magazine, we know how big that is, how prestigious it is within the world. Is it a big factor for you in the metaverse to bring a lot of that real life aspect into the virtual and I guess Web3, or is it something that just brings that little bit of culture alongside it?
It's probably one of the most famous place in the world, I'd say. And having Times Square, recreating the feeling of Times Square in the metaverse, I think it's key. But also recreating inside the sandbox is not about copying physical life. We also want to readapt and bring new stuff into it. So imagining being out of physical restriction of life.
All right. And as we said, there were a lot of meetings, announcements around the NFT NYC, and we're not done yet, as the music artist Ina Moja was also there, and she talked about the Great Green Light project. Let's check it out.
Code Green's project in the sandbox is called the Great Green Land. The idea was to replicate the Great Green Wall, but in the sandbox, and it's a land where it empowers people to learn more about social, gender, and climate justice. And so we have art workshops, and also we have educational hub that really helps people understand about these different issues. And also we have all the fun part where you can participate as being and playing and healing at the same time. So we have a collection, a 10K collection that is linked to it, and every time that somebody buys one NFT, there is one tree that is planted and one person that gets access to water for life. And so that is something that for us was super important, because at the same time you're playing, but you are also doing something really good as an impact for society. So that's what we are about. We want to play and at the same time create justice for everyone and equality, and really make the world a better space.
Yeah, what a cool lovely project there from Ina Moja, much more than just a musician, and certainly helping out in this metaverse industry. For someone that's so involved in the sandbox, Panda, how important and how much of a factor can Web3 and the metaverse play in helping these real life solutions? Sorry.
I mean, I think it's quite important, and it has a big impact, especially considering people come and play these games and they'll see certain things like, you know, to do with being more green and everything like that. And they'll think, oh, they'll have more thought into it if it's put within a gaming form.
Yeah, exactly. And also touching down on the other cultural how do you say, experiences that you can have, because it's all about experience in the sandbox. We also have other artists who took part in it, and I have the honor of introducing the immense Steve Aoki also, who's going to be part of the metaverse, and we invite you to discover him and his experience through an interview. Check it out.
My discovery into Web3, summer of 2020. This is like the height of COVID, so we're all trapped in our homes. I got heavily into sports cards, Pokemon, collectible culture, and NFTs. I'm a music producer, but I am a creator by nature. Whatever I'm doing, whatever industry I'm part of, I'm always want to participate, and was NFTs. So out of all those, I was like, oh, wow, I can actually be involved in the creation and work with other artists to develop something. What's exciting now is that, like, I've been working with Sandbox to develop my world, and it is an iteration. It's the imaginative experience based in real life. So this is my house. It's based on the blueprints of the Aoki's Playhouse that legitimately exists, and we turned it into the most insane, most imaginative, colorful, mind-bending experience. I mean, you step into my subconscious in my world.
We discussed with him what kind of memories would you like to illustrate if we go into a dream world, you know, that would be your dream. What would be the beautiful memories, you know, that you want to talk about?
I want people to play and enjoy and like really look through every nook and cranny of all these different rooms and all the different quests. Because yes, there's quests. and there's different adventures you could take when you go through Aoki's Playhouse. And I mean, we threw everything at the board. Like, you know, obviously, like there's gonna be a cake target practice area. There's the massive festival stage on my rooftop. Obviously my foam pit's there. My big pool is there. That's really a huge aquarium. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. It's such an exploratory experience that I think people are gonna have so much fun engaging and being part of this world. And I'm so excited for people to be part of it.
I think he was very interested in this project, so he really put himself in it. He was very available for us. We could have talked with him. He gave us some ideas. We exchanged some things. We showed him some things. It was very, very cool, and it was great to work with him. Actually, I was a little bit inspired by the clip he may have done before, and the contrast was very important. So I worked on the contrast with the playhouse, which is more classic architecture, with the playhouse, which is very colorful.
It's very important for the Sandbox to have the involvement of artists like Steve Aoki, because he is really part of this culture from the start. So it's normal. I think it's a natural step that he comes to the Sandbox, you know, because there is really a synergy between his interest for this and what we do.
I've been playing games since I was a kid. I still play games. I'm in my 40s, and I play with my friends. During COVID, the gamers came out of the woodwork. People that were like on the borderline, like, yeah, I play games, they became degenerate gamers. That was me. I mean, I'm a gamer, but like I'm passively a gamer. I own an esports team too, so yeah, I don't know if I'm like passive because I'm like so in the business of gaming. But you know, I had all this time, so I just went all in with a lot of my friends. All my friends are gaming. It's just part of how we communicate now. It's also part of how we identify. And so when I think of Sandbox, I really think this is like adult Roblox. This is adult Minecraft. This is the adult version of how we are going to identify, communicate, socialize, and be part of a community. And also, the benefits of Web3 are there. There's gonna be a time when it's gonna be very normal that all gaming, all metaversal related activity will have a Web3 component.
Well, it's clear to see that DJ Steve Aoki knows a lot more than just spinning the decks. He knows a lot about Web3 and the metaverse. A question I've got to ask off the back of that, Remy, you're already working with Steve Aoki. You're working with Inner Modja. You've had collaborations with deadmau5, and we've seen also Snoop Dogg heavily involved. What is it about musicians coming into the metaverse, and I guess why do you love working with them? I
guess you also saw that we announced a partnership with Warner Music Group quite recently. They have a big chunk on the map, so I can safely say that we can expect a lot more musicians in the Sandbox, but also from different music styles as well, from rock bands, metal bands, a lot more.
I'm so hyped. I want to see what's in store. In season 3, maybe we'll get there in a few minutes, but before that, Panda, you experienced maybe the Steve Aoki experience. How was it? Tell me.
So I've not fully played it. I've had a little look into it. It is a super unique game. As he said, it's like based off of his home and everything like that. And I've got to say the assets are very creative. The game itself is very, very unique. Certain aspects, I think people are going to have a lot of fun playing it, and I can't wait to fully go into it.
I love it. And as you said, I think the players will love it. And also, they will like what's coming because it's time for us to talk about season 3. Remy, I will turn to you, obviously, for that, because I think some information has been released, but I don't know how much. So spill the deeds. Tell us what it's going to be about for season 3.
Okay, you can expect the season 3 by the end of July, let's say. And as the season 1, season 2 went very well, We are very happy to have this season 3 ongoing. We are welcoming a lot of brands. It's the first time we are bringing IPs into the metaverse as an open world. So we are very, very happy, and we are glad to welcome any feedback when it's live.
Probably a tougher question to ask you. Obviously, the current situation that the world is in obviously has had an effect on blockchains and cryptos. Has that changed the vision at all for your series? Oh, sorry, your next sort of season?
Okay, that's a big topic in the industry. Everyone's wondering, will the industry recover or else? I mean, at the Sandbox, we are very safe. Like, our financial departments manage everything very well. So we can expect a long run, and we are now building. It's also a good time to refocus on building, improving the product, shipping new experiences, etc. So it's a very good time to talk to brands and get creative.
And we've already seen, obviously, the trailer. There's a lot to come in season 3. The last season we saw come out, I think, lasted over a period of a month. Is the plan to follow that? Can you give us a tease of how long the season could be?
It will be longer. So we want to, it's part of the overall strategy. We are opening more and more, increasingly, the metaverse. Mm-hmm. So we want, in the end, of course, to be live 24/7. So we are increasing the available time in the metaverse, so player can spend more experiences, can spend more time, and share into more experiences.
Right. Well, digging a bit deeper into season 3, I know that Sébastien Bourget, the CEO of the Sandbox, has been very vocal on Twitter, especially about the importance of avatars as a creative identity. Do you think it's something we're going to find again in this season?
That's for sure. In season 2, we had World of Women. We had Snoop.
No, just Snoop Dogg's.
Oh,
World of Women came right at the end.
Oh, right at the end. Okay. Yeah. So basically, with every partner, we want interoperable items. So we have bridged avatars and also collection of avatars being released. Bridged avatars like World of Women. If you own a World of Women, you can get your avatar with a World of Women in the game. But also we can have Snoop collection, so where Snoop release a dedicated collection for the Sandbox only. That's what we can expect.
Amazing.
There's a lot coming, isn't there? Yeah. There's a lot coming on the way. Panda, I've got to say, the question for you, have you had a chance to look at season 3 in a lot more detail? What's the biggest thing you're looking forward to?
Oh, I don't even know what I'm allowed to say, what's been announced. I've played a lot of the season 3 games, and there's one that I'm looking forward to, and I know I can't say it, but let's just say it involves... No, I can't say it.
If we go off the back of the trailer,
I can't say it. I can't say it.
If we go off the back of the trailer at least, what in that trailer are you looking forward to?
I haven't watched the trailer.
Okay.
We'll keep the information. That's
wait,
fine.
Was I'm trying to whisper it. Can they just cut this bit out?
All right. Well, we cannot wait to discover all of this, of course, during the summer. And in the meantime, you can find all of the Sandbox during the Metaverse Summit, which will take place in Paris next week. And we will have more than 200 industry leaders. They have confirmed their presence in the conference. And the Sandbox is co-organizing the event, Remy. So can you tell us more about this conference? What can we find? And what is this going to be about?
Yes, definitely. The Metaverse Summit is about bringing studios, builders to also show that the world is being involved in the metaverse. So, for example, as part of this co-organization, we are bringing 8 studios to be part of the show, to share how they do things into the Sandbox, inspire others to get into the ecosystem as well. So yeah, it's about creative and builders.
We will follow that with great interest, of course. And thank you so much for all this info. Panda, where can we follow you? When can we find you?
You can follow me on Twitter as PandaPops7, YouTube, PandaPops, Twitch, PandaPops90.
Perfect. Getting there. Thank you so much also for joining us today. It was a pleasure to have you both on set. And we hope you enjoyed the show. Did you enjoy the show?
We did, of course.
Yeah.
Give us some feedback on social media as well at the Sandbox Game for any feedback, how we want to see more of these shows maybe. There's been a lot of content coming your way across the Sandbox socials. Hopefully there's a lot more to come because we've enjoyed ourselves, I think, today, Laura.
Yeah, and keep an eye out on season 3. I know there's some stuff that can't be revealed now, but thank you all so much for watching and see you guys soon in the Sandbox.